righty. It's not ESPN's 30 for 30. However, it is my 98 for 98. The 98 seasons in the history of the New York Football Giants. I'm going to try to get it done in 98 days. I fell a little bit short, but I will get it done by tomorrow night, which is the first day of, well, NFL started a couple days ago, but the first NFL Sunday. I'm going to get it done by tomorrow, right? So we're at the second to last season with the 97th season in the history of the New York Giants. One more season to go. The 97th season in history of the Giants, 102nd season in history of the NFL. NFL started in 1920, Giants started in 1925, so the Giants are 5 years younger than the NFL is, but with the second to last season, 97th season in history of the New York Giants, the 2021 season, and we some just from 2012 to 2021, there's 10 seasons, but just some lean years. One playoff appearance, 2016, but this is the second and thankfully final season of Joe Judge, and this was the fourth and thankfully final season of Dave Gettleman as the GM. Judge was fired at the end of the season, and Gettleman, he stepped down apparently. Now, I'm not sure if it was, the Maras went up to him, because, he had been with the Giants before. And, and I'm sure, good friends with the Maras, I guess, and they brought him back. And not that he wasn't their GM before, but he had been in the Giants organization before. So, maybe the Maras went up to him and said, we're going to go in a different direction. So you got, it's like the price is right. You can take what's behind door number one. We can take what's behind door number two. And they went so far as to tell them what was behind door number one and what was behind door number two. They said, door number one, we fire you. Door number two, you step down. What do you want? You let us know. On door number one and door number two. And apparently Dave Gettleman, I guess, took door number two. So Dave Gettleman resigned. So, you don't know, but apparently he resigned. But, it could have been the other way, too. It could have been, they told him, we're going to let you go so you can, step down or get fired. So it is what it is. But anyway, it doesn't matter. He's gone. He's gone. Joe Judge is gone. Joe Judge is back with the Patriots. And so it was a less than memorable season, shall we say. It was, once again, what happened was we had we got Joe Shermer, Joe Shermer. I got Joe Judge and Pat Shermer. We had Pat Shermer, right, for 2018 and 2019. Actually, it was the same thing with McAdoo, Shermer, and Judge. With McAdoo in 2016 his first season, his record was better than the 2017 season. Pat Shermer, his 2018 season was better than his 2019 season, and Joe Judge's 2020 season was better than the 2021 season. So it was just bad. It was just bad, So it was they made three mistakes in a row. They finally cleared house, and obviously, the rest is kind of history. They Mr. Mara, and Steve Tisch, they decided to, in obviously in 2022, decided to, bring somebody in out of the organization, somebody maybe they had no ties with, or this, that, the other thing. They brought in some very good candidates, obviously, and they decided on Joe Schoen. Decided to give him, complete reins. Here you go. You pick your coach, right? And things are really working out pretty well. And of course, tomorrow night the season kicks off against the Dallas Cowboys. Should be a great game. Win or lose, should be a very, very good game, very entertaining game. So I'm so stoked and pumped up about it because, this has been first time in a long time I've really been really, really excited about a football season. Not thinking the Giants are going to go to the Super Bowl or nothing, but I'm very excited about our season because we certainly built upon our 2022 season. So, but once again, that's tomorrow night. So the 2021 season, the second and final season for Joe Judge, and the fourth and final season for Dave Gettleman was just. It started off I guess preseason was an indication of things that should have come, because let's not forget 2020 preseason was canceled because of COVID, right? But the Giants were 0-4 in preseason. First game of preseason was on August 14th. They were home against the Jets. They lost 12-7. The second game they played was on August 22nd. They were away. They played against the Cleveland Browns and they lost 17-13. Actually, I do apologize. They didn't. This was they started with the 17 game schedule. So I'm so used to saying 4 games because of the 16 game schedule. 2021 they started the 17 game schedule. So I do apologize. They didn't start off 0-4. They started off 0-3. But because the 17 game schedule, they went from, instead of the 16 game schedule, they had 4 preseason games. Once they went to the 17 game schedule, they went to 3 preseason games. So 3 preseason games. So their third and final preseason game, I do apologize, was August 29th. They were home against the New England Patriots and they lost 22-20. So they started off 0-3 in the preseason anyway. All right. So what does Wikipedia have to say? Not a whole heck of a lot. They kept kind of quiet here. The 2021 season for the New York Giants was the 97th season in the National Football League, and their second and final season under head coach Joe Judge. They failed to improve upon their 6-10 output from this previous season and missed the postseason for the 5th consecutive year after a Week 16 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. Following the season, general manager Dave Gettleman announced his retirement. As I said, once again, did they tell him, you need to step down and retire, or we're going to fire you? Who knows? But he apparently announced his retirement, and head coach Joe Judge was fired. Thank God. The draft. Oof. Very, very interesting. The final draft. This was the Kadarius Toney drafts. This is the one where the Eagles jumped in front of the Giants, and he traded with the Eagles. Eagles had a couple of first-round picks, but one of them was the Eagles were picking 12th, and the Giants were picking 11th. And, I'm not sure if word got out, or they thought the Giants were going to take DeVonta Smith or whatever it is, But so the Eagles went from 12th and they traded up and traded with the Cowboys. Oddly enough, the Cowboys were 10th, the Giants were 11th, and the Eagles were picking 12th. And as I said, I'm not exactly sure, if word had gotten out, the Giants were maybe eyeing DeVonta Smith, which they quite possibly were. Because he's been a very, very good wide receiver for the Eagles. So the Eagles were at 12th, and they traded up, and actually then they traded with the Cowboys. Oddly enough, it's just one of those things. It's like you're trading with a team in your own division who's trying to better themselves and trying to beat you, and you're letting it happen. So the Eagles were drafting 12th. They traded up with the Cowboys, number 10, and they took DeVonta Smith. So then the Bears were looking for a quarterback. So the Giants wound up trading back to back to number 20 overall. And so the Bears jumped up and they took Justin Fields, who's their starting quarterback. He didn't have much of a supporting cast for the Bears last year, so he did not, overall, the Bears and him did not have a super spectacular season. But there's hope for him, okay? And they're trying to, surround him with some weapons and all, and hopefully give him his best chance to succeed. So Will he succeed? Who knows? But I said, I think he's in a better position to succeed this year than he was last year. So the Bears got the 11th overall pick, and they took Justin Fields. And then the Giants wound up dropping back to pick number 20, but they wound up, they did rather well. They got the Giants went back to the 20th position. They went back 9 spots. So they wound up taking Kadarius Toney. They also got a 5th round pick. And then they got another 1st round pick. And they got a 4th round pick. So they got to move back 9 spots. So you can say what you want. And you look at it, and we traded Kadarius Toney away, and we wound up getting actually Trey Hawkins and Darren Waller. So the Giants wound up going back 9 spots. Okay, you can say what you want, but what wound up worked out pretty well for the Giants. The Giants went back 9 spots. Okay. And after they traded away Kadarius Toney, this, that, and the other thing, all the Giants wound up with Trey Hawkins III, Darren Waller, Evan Neal, Daniel Bellinger, and let's see here. Looks like they traded away one of their picks. They did trade away, but the Giants did pretty well. They did pretty well to move back 9 spots. They got 2 tight ends. They got Evan Neal. Okay. They did very, very well. And they got Trey Hawkins, and they got a starting cornerback. So they did very, very well for themselves. Obviously the Kadarius Toney going back 9 spots didn't work out very well. What a joke he is. Absolute joke. But the Giants in this draft here, the 2021 draft, they did some wheeling and some dealing here, okay? But in the 2nd round, they got themselves a very, very good pick. Now, of course, he had some injury issues. Let's see here. The Giants, let's see here. Okay. The Giants were taking the 10th pick in the 2nd round. They wound up trading up with the Dolphins. The Dolphins traded up, and the Dolphins took Liam Eichenberg. All right. But in return, the Giants got the Dolphins' second round pick and their 3rd round pick. So for their 3rd round pick, the Giants took Cordell Flott, and in their 2nd round pick, right? So basically they went back, 8 spots. They went from the 10th pick in the 2nd round to the 18th. So they picked up a 3rd round pick. They got a 2nd round pick and a 3rd round pick. So they did some wheeling and dealing. So with their 2nd round pick that they got from the Dolphins, they got Azeez Ojulari. Now, the reason why Azeez Ojulari fell to the 2nd round was because he had some injury issues, possibly might be lingering up. They might rear their ugly head. They could, possibly cause some problems. He did have some injury issues last season, a lot of soft tissue injuries, which hasn't reared its ugly head this year so far. But I'll tell you what, if once again, if Azeez Ojulari can stay healthy, he's a fantastic pick in the 2nd round. Let me tell you what. Then the Giants, they wound up picking up, they got a 3rd round pick in the 2021 draft. So they had, they wound up getting, they went with Aaron Robinson. Let's see here. See that the Giants. Let's see here. The Giants, they wound up trading up in the 3rd round. Okay, and they wound up taking Aaron Robinson. They traded with the Broncos, and they wound up drafting Aaron Robinson. So Aaron Robinson. The Giants traded away. They jumped up and they traded with the Broncos. So the Giants traded away a 3rd round pick and a 5th round pick. So they did wheeling and dealing. They were wheeling and dealing. But they jumped up and they traded with the Broncos, and they drafted Aaron Robinson, who unfortunately really has never been able to stay healthy. He had like a muscle core surgery done after the draft, and he was out for a while, and he's been missing a lot of time. So it's really hard to say if he's a bona fide good draft pick, because he's played, but he's also missed a lot of time. And once again, he's a Gettleman guy. He's not a Shane and Dable guy. So you kind of wonder how long he's going to wind up staying on the Giants team if he can't stay healthy. And he has not been able to stay healthy at all. Obviously, you take a cornerback in the third round, especially you jump up and take, maybe it's not like a lockdown corner, but he can at least be some good quality depth. If nothing else, he could be some good depth for the New York Football Giants going forward, but he has to prove that he has to stay healthy. And of course, which is going to lead me to our next guest, okay, who could never stay healthy, who is not on the team anymore, right? So the Giants in the third round, they traded up and they took Aaron Robinson, which, I mean, if he could stay healthy, is not a bad pick for the third round. But once again, he cannot stay healthy. And he's injured this year, right? Once again, this is 2021 now in 2023, and once again, he's coming back from an injury. So then in the fourth round, the Giants took Ellerson Smith, who could never stay healthy, and he was let go this summer. He was just one injury after the other. I mean, he managed to play in a few games in 2021. He played in a few games, I do believe, in 2022, but he was just one injury after the other, and he was injured this training camp, preseason, whatever, and the Giants let him go. It just your best ability is your availability. You can't make the club in the tub, and he could never ever stay healthy for any length of time. And the Giants have no ties. Shane and Dable have no ties to him, and they just let him go. It's a shame, because as far as an edge rusher, and all, he has a nice height. He has nice length. I forgot. I mean, what does it say here? Well, I think he's from Northern Iowa. So, I mean, he didn't go up against the greatest competition, but 6'7", 255 pounds. He's got the height, the length, and everything. He's perfect. At least, if anything, once again, he could be some depth for you. But once again, he can never, ever stay healthy. So I don't know if he's on another team. Somebody else tried to pick him up or not, but I know he's not on the Giants anymore. So then in the fifth round, as I said, the Giants wind up trading away their fifth round pick when they, let's see here. They traded away their fifth round pick. They had to trade away their fifth round pick to the Jets because they traded to get Leonard Williams. So this one wasn't too bad overall, because the Giants they got Leonard Williams from the Jets and $4 million in cash. For the Giants had to trade away their third round pick in 2020 and a 2021 conditional round pick. And wound up being this fifth round pick. So the Giants had to trade away their fifth round pick to the Jets, and they took Michael Carter the second. So that's why the Giants in the fifth round of the 2021 draft did not have a draft pick, because they traded away for the Jets. They traded it to the Jets when they got Leonard Williams. So, yeah, I mean, that's not bad. Leonard Williams is still on the team. You're not exactly sure if what's his plans in the future after this season, but he's still on the team right now, and he's healthy, and we're looking for big things for Leonard Williams this season. So that wasn't too bad of a draft, a trade. Right? The Giants also had another fifth round pick, which they wound up trading to the Broncos. They traded away their third round pick and their fifth round pick when they traded up and drafted Aaron Robinson. So they had two fifth round picks, and they traded them both away. So then in the sixth round, This was a wheeling and dealing draft. I'm telling you what, for the New York Giants. The Giants had 2 6th-round picks. All right, 6th-round pick here. The Giants took Gary Brightwell, who's still on the team. All right. Certainly absolutely a serviceable running back. If Saquon or Breida needs a blow or something like they're on the side, whatever, you put Brightwell in there usually for maybe one series during the game. He'll get maybe a couple carries. He does a decent job. He's not Saquon. He ain't going to be an all-pro, Pro Bowl or nothing like that, but he's a serviceable running back. And not only that, but he gives you some good quality reps on special teams. So to take the Gary Brightwell in the 6th round, right? 6th-round running back who's a decent running back, right? Nothing special, but a decent running back. But he's good on special teams. Very good pick for the Giants in the 6th round. Then they traded away Marcus Golden to the Cardinals, right? I mean, this is one of those things you kind of like scratch in your head. The Giants needed edge rushers and this, that, and the other thing. And Marcus Golden, I believe the one season, I think he had like 8 sacks for the Giants. Then they brought him in the next season and they traded him away. They needed edge rushers and they traded Marcus Golden away. But is what it is. So they traded Marcus Golden away to the Cardinals. And they got a 6th-round pick and they wound up taking Rodarius Williams, who was not on the Giants anymore. Let's see here. He was taken in the 2021 NFL draft. Williams was drafted in the 6th round by the Giants. On May 13, 2021, Williams officially signed with the Giants. He suffered a torn ACL in Week 5 and was ruled out for the season. That was in 2021. On August 31st, 2022, Williams was placed on injured reserve. He was activated on November 14th because it was his torn ACL, right? He was activated on November 14th. Williams recorded his first career interception off of Dak Prescott in a Week 12 loss to the Cowboys. Then after that, he was like a healthy scratch, almost like the rest of the season. He was on the roster. I'm not exactly sure what happened. If anything happened, I'm not really sure. I think he had a decent game against the Cowboys, if I remember correctly. Obviously, he had an interception, as I just said here. And then I think the rest of the season, he was like a healthy scratch. So I'm not sure if he did something happened. That I don't know. All right. So that was in 2022. 2023, on August 19, 2023, Rodarius Williams was released by the New York Football Giants. He didn't even make it to the, the final 53, I guess it was, the cut down or whatever it was. Let's see here. And then, of course, the next day, Tampa Bay, on August 20, 2023, Williams was claimed off of waivers by Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay, the Giants released him on August 19th. The following day, Rodarius Williams was claimed off waivers by Tampa Bay. He was then waived 8 days later. So as far as I know, right now, he's still looking for a job. Don't know if he's ever going to find a job, but it is what it is. But the Giants released him, and the Bucs tried to pick him up and keep him, but 8 days later, they let him go. So you're not exactly sure whatever happened to or whatever's going to happen to Rodarius Williams. But I think as of right now, we're still looking for a team. Then the Giants did not have a 7th-round pick. As I said, they were this was some just crazy wheeling and dealing by Dave Gettleman this season here. The Giants traded away their 7th-round pick, and they got Isaac Yiadom, who was a defensive back who didn't do too bad. Didn't do too bad for the Giants in his one season. But then I don't remember if he didn't make it to the next season or whatever it was, but he was serviceable. Wasn't a lockdown corner or nothing, whatever. But he was a decent, all right, especially for a 7th-round pick. But he never made it on the Giants in the following season. So it is what it is. But I mean, practically almost in every round, the Giants made a traded up, traded back, traded this, traded out of the round, whatever. There all kinds of trades. Crazy for the Giants. All right, so let's see here. Let's go to the Giants. Their offense was absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. I mean, they averaged 15.2 points per game. They were 31st out of 32 teams. I mean, just absolutely horrible. The defense gave up 24.5 points per game, which was 23rd out of 32. I mean, Jason Garrett, I can never seem to get the offense rolling. Plus, also not to mention the fact that Daniel Jones got hurt, and we had Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm as our backup quarterbacks. Daniel Jones only played in and started 11 games. Mike Glennon played 4 games, started 4 games, and Jake Fromm started the other 2. And between Glennon and Fromm, they were 0-6. Glennon, in his 4 games, completed 53.9% of his passes. He had 4 touchdowns. He threw 10 interceptions. Jake Fromm was 0-2 in his 2 starts. He completed 45% of his passes. He completed 27 out of 60, 45%. He had 1 touchdown pass and 3 interceptions. So basically, our 2 backup quarterbacks threw 5 touchdown passes and 13 interceptions. Just horrible. Daniel Jones was 4-7 in his starts. He completed 64.3% of his passes. He had 10 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. But, I mean, everything was just absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. We had Saquon Barkley. He missed a few games, but still, he played 13 games. He had 593 yards in 13 games. Absolutely horrible. He averaged 45.6 yards per game rushing the ball, which is absolute for Saquon Barkley, absolutely atrocious. He averaged 3.7 yards a carry. I mean, we had Devontae Booker. He had 593 yards as well, too. So between Booker and Barkley, both had 593 yards rushing. Elijah Penei, I always liked him. He had 99 yards rushing. Basically, those are the 3 running backs. Penei, Booker, and Barkley. Gary Brightwell he ran the ball 1 time for 4 yards. But Daniel Jones, he had 298 yards rushing. But, I mean, overall, the Giants averaged 99 yards a game rushing. They gave up 129 yards a game rushing. What do we have? The Giants had 8 rushing touchdowns all season long. 2 of them by Daniel Jones. I mean, just atrocious, absolutely atrocious. And the passing game, let's see, what did the Giants here passing? They had 3,463 passing yards. They had 15 passing touchdowns all season long. They gave up 27 touchdowns, passing touchdowns. They had 15 passing touchdowns and 20 interceptions they had. I mean, just, once again, absolutely just horrible, really horrible. Their offensive line was not very good. Let's see here. Barkley had 41 receptions. Devontae Booker had 40. Elijah Penei had 9. Kadarius Toney. Actually, I mean, he played in 10 games because he was injured the other 7. Imagine that. He had 39 receptions. Evan Ingram had 46 receptions. Sterling Shepard had 36. Darius Slayton had 26. John Ross, remember him? He had 11. He had his 1 touchdown reception against the Saints. It was like a 50-yard touchdown pass. C.J. Board had a couple receptions. Farrell Cooper, Gary Brightwell had 1 reception. Kenny Golladay even had 37 receptions. No touchdowns, though, but he had 37 receptions. Kyle Rudolph, my man, 26 receptions. He had Colin Johnson, right? He had 11. Dante Pettis, he had 10. Chris Myrick had 3. Caden Smith had 3. David Sills had 2. Andrew Thomas even had 1. He even had that touchdown against Tampa Bay, right? And Keen Crossan, they tried to throw one to him, but he didn't have a reception though. But Keen Crossan was decent on special teams though. But I mean, it just their passing attack. I mean, it was just they averaged a little over 200 yards a game, 203 yards per game. They averaged almost 204 yards a game passing. It looks like, about 204. So just not a very good season. Not the offense was horrible. I mean, a lot of it was also because Daniel Jones missed 6 games and the backups were just atrocious. I mean, Mike Lennon, wow. Graham Gano had a nice season. He made 29 out of 33 field goal attempts, 87.9% success rate. He only tried 17 extra points all season long. 17 extra point attempts all season long. That is absolutely atrocious. Riley Dixon had another very nice season, averaged 44.4 yards per punt. Only had 6 touchbacks. He kicked 24 inside the 20 for 32.4% of his punts wound up inside the 20. Very good season from him. Let's see here. We had, what do we have? Wound up with the defense only had 34 sacks. So the defense certainly was nothing super spectacular. It looks like Azeez Ojulari had 8. He had 8 sacks. Just goes to show you how well he could play. He played in all 17 games, started in 13 of them. He had 8 sacks. Lorenzo Carter had 5. Unfortunately, we weren't able to keep him. We lost him to a salary cap. He was a free agent. We didn't want to bring him back. It's a shame. But the offensive line only gave up 38 sacks, and that's not too bad. That's not too bad. But the running was horrible. When we had injuries, our depth was horrible. It was our coaching staff was just horrible. The season was just how do I put it? Horrible. But we made it through it. They finished 4-13. 4-13. So let's go over each painful game after painful game, shall we? Let's relive the pain once again, the 2021 season for the New York Football Giants, right? They started the season at home against the Denver Broncos, and they lost 27-13. They were just outmatched, outmanned. It was just a horrible game. They lost the next game. There was their Thursday night game. They played in Washington against the Washington football team. They lost 30-29. The Washington football team kicked a field goal as time expired. Well, what happened? They initially kicked 1 field goal. Let me see. Field goal they kicked initially would have been 48 yards. However, one of the referees threw a flag saying Dexter Lawrence was offside on the play. They kicked it. It was no good. It was from 48 yards. It was no good. The Giants won. The ref threw the flag saying that Dexter Lawrence was offside. Moved the ball 5 yards closer. Dustin Hopkins kicks the 43-yarder, and it goes through. They give the game to the Washington football team. However, if you look at the replay, as the ball moves, Dexter Lawrence moves. He was not offside. When the ball moves, you can move. It's not that the ball moves and you got to count 1 Mississippi and then you can move. No. When the ball moves, you move. And I said the only thing I can think of is unless Dexter Lawrence was lined up offside, which it didn't look like he was, he moved as the ball was moving. He was moving. Now the only thing, the ball moved a little bit initially, and Dexter Lawrence is a huge individual. So, I mean, maybe, as I said, because of his size and everything, and maybe it looked like he was offside. But when you go over overhead view of it and they zoom in and you look at the ball and you look at Dexter Lawrence, as the ball is moving, as he's getting ready to snap the ball, Dexter Lawrence is moving. He was not offside. It would have been nice if they could have challenged something like that because they were overturned it and the Giants would have won the football game. But it was what it was. The Giants won it. They got screwed. But in the long term, they had one less win, which meant they had a better draft pick in the following season. So the refs actually, because the Giants weren't going anywhere. Whether they were 5-12 or 4-13, they weren't going anywhere. So they wound up 4-13. They wound up having a better draft pick because the refs screwed them. So it is what it is. But the Giants did win that football game. So then the Giants, they lost 17-14 to the Falcons at home. And, they gave up 2 field goals to the Falcons in the final 4 minutes. of the game. The Giants won at 14. I'm sorry, the Giants gave up 10 points in the final 4 minutes of the game. Giants were up 14-7, and the problem was they kept the Falcons around. 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 And in the final 4 minutes, the Falcons managed to score 10 points and wound up winning 17-14. And of course, they gave up a field goal to Young-Ho Koo on the final play of the game. The game was tied at 14, and the Falcons got the ball, marched just in the field goal range, and Young-Ho Koo kicked a 40-yard field goal as time expired, and the Falcons wound up winning. Just, it's an absolutely pathetic, gutless, awful game. Then the Giants they went on the road, and they actually beat the New Orleans Saints in the Superdome 27-21 in overtime. They were behind. They came back, they tied them up, and they actually went in overtime and actually won the game. Daniel Jones had over 400 yards passing, had a phenomenal game. The Giants had a phenomenal game. It was very exciting. It was great to see him get off the schneid and actually get a win. So now they're 1-3, but it wouldn't last. The Giants lost. I mean, the season was just horrible. I mean, a lot of times when they lost, they were getting blown out. They lost the following week in Dallas, 44-20. Now the Giants are 1-4. The following week against the Rams at home, they lost 38-11. I mean, it just, things just got from bad to worse. It was just. Then the Giants actually, this was the battle of the coaches. This is when Matt Rule of the Carolina Panthers, he came and the Panthers played the Giants, and the Giants wound up winning 25-3. Now this was before they had hired Joe Judge. They had brought we're going to bring Matt Rule in for an interview because he was very good in college as far as rebuilding football teams, especially teams that weren't doing good, bringing them in, and he would rebuild them, and he had a very good success rate in college. So what it was the Giants had him for an interview, but before he was coming to the Giants, he made a stop in Carolina, and after Carolina, he was supposed to come to New York and talk to the Giants. Well, he never made it out of Carolina. Apparently, Carolina made him an offer he couldn't refuse, right? But apparently, he called the Giants and said, Carolina, they offered me $10 million. I think it was, or something ridiculous. And of course, Carolina made the wrong choice, and they wound up getting screwed. They owed this guy I think it was $10 million a year or something like that. And he just let them in the dumper. I mean, they never played well. They had bad records, and so they got screwed. But the Giants got screwed too because they wanted hiring Joe Judge. But anyway, so apparently I think he called Mr. Mara, I guess, and said, "Look, I'm not leaving. Whatever they offered me this. Okay, and if you want to match them or give me some more, something like that, I'm all ears or whatever." But the Giants weren't going to give him, I guess, $10 million. I think it was 10. It could have been a little less, but the Giants said no. So Rule went to the Panthers, and then they had this was the battle of the two coaches, Joe Judge and Rule, right? And so the Panthers came to town. The Giants wound up winning 25-3. So the Giants were 2-5. So then the following week they lost, and they had it. They played in Kansas City on Monday night, and they had the lead, and they kind of blew the game. They were winning. Let's see here. They were winning 17-14, and they gave up two. They were, with about 10 minutes to go in the game, the Giants were up 17-14, and they gave up 2 field goals to the Chiefs. The second one was with 1:07 seconds left to go. Chiefs went up 20-17, and of course the Giants couldn't move the ball or do anything, and so Giants lost a close one to a very good Chiefs team, and they lost 20-17. So then the Giants fell to 2-6. Oh boy. Let's see here. Then the following week, thanks to an Xavier McKinney pick 6, the Giants held on and beat the Las Vegas Raiders 23-16 at home. So now the Giants are 3-6. Then the following week, the Giants they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road. Another Monday night game. I have no idea where they picked these two games. The Giants stunk. 2 Monday night games on the road, one against the Chiefs and the other against the Bucs, against the 2 best quarterbacks in football. I have no idea who picked these games out. One game was against Patrick Mahomes on the road, and the other game was against Tom Brady on the road. No idea what they're smoking when they come up with this kind of crap. But let's take a crappy Giants team, put them on the road against 2 great quarterbacks, and let's see what happens. I mean, what do you think's going to happen? So the Giants got destroyed 30-10 on Monday night. The only nice thing about that was Andrew Thomas scored a touchdown pass. So our tackle scored more points than our entire offense did, which is absolutely freaking pathetic. So after the Giants lost and got embarrassed on Monday night to the Buccaneers 30-10, they're 3-7. The Giants beat Jalen Hurts at home against the Eagles. They won 13-7 because Jalen Hurts didn't have many weapons to throw to, right? He had DeVonta Smith, but he didn't have A.J. Brown, okay? And it just goes to show you, right, with Jalen Hurts, when he doesn't have a lot of weapons, he doesn't score a lot of points, right? And he scored 7 points. So the guy who got things like $55 million a season, $55 million a season, when he didn't have a ton of weapons, the 1 year against the Giants here in 2021, he scored 7 points against the Giants. Against the Giants defense, he gave up almost 25 points a game. He scored, Jalen Hurts scored 7 points. And for that, he gets rewarded with, I mean, obviously I know he had a great season last year, but you give him a phenomenal offensive line, you give him all kinds of weapons, and he does good. Well, this year in 2021, he didn't have a boatload of weapons. He had DeVonta Smith and, not much else. And he scored 7 points. That's all he can muster up. That's your $55 million guy right there. Gets you 7 points on the road against a team that gives up 25 points a game. Pretty pathetic. So the Giants wind up winning. They were 4-7, and unfortunately for the Giants, that would be their final win of the season. And after this, it was just the final 6 games were just ugly, absolutely ugly. The following week, the Giants lost for the first time ever to Miami. In Miami. AFL-NFL merger was in 1970, so and the first time the Giants and the Dolphins ever played each other was 1972. That was in Yankee Stadium. But if you go back to 1970, so from 1970 to 2021 was 52 seasons. It took the 52 seasons for the Miami Dolphins to actually beat the Giants in Miami. The Miami Dolphins had never beaten the Giants in Miami until Joe Judge. Thank you, Joe Judge. The Dolphins won 20-9. The Giants' offense was pathetic. It was just just absolutely horrible game. Horrible game. They lost 20-9. Following week on the road against the Chargers, the Giants lost 37-21. Against Justin Herbert. I mean, they were totally out. They were down 30. Was it 37-7? I think they were down. Let's take a gander, shall we? Yeah. They were down. Yeah, they were down 37-7 with about 5 minutes to go in the game. They were down 37-7. They scored 2 touchdowns in the final 5 minutes. So they were down 37-7 on the road to the Chargers. Just once again, absolutely gutless, pathetic, horrible performance. Let's see. Then the Giants faced the Cowboys at home, and they lost 21-6. I mean, they scored. Let's see. They scored 26 points in their final 4 games. So they lost 21-6. Then the following week in Philadelphia, the Giants lost 34-10 to the Eagles. They got some revenge on the Giants. Then we played the Bears in the 16th game of the season. They played in Chicago, and the Giants lost 29-3. And the Giants wound up with -6 passing yards. That's when Mike Lennon was in there. -6 passing yards. It's pretty hard to do that, and Mike Lennon did it. Now it wasn't so much, he had positive passing yards. I think he had 24 passing yards. If you can freaking imagine that. 24 yards passing against not a very good Bears team. Not very good. 24 yards passing, but he lost 30 yards in sacks. So that's where the -6 came from. But, once again, -6 yards passing. They had 155 yards of total offense. They lost 29-3. So now they're 4-12. The final game of the season they lost was against the Washington football team at home. They lost 22-7. to finish 4-13. And then, like, to top it all off, I mean, the Giants were 6-10, and they went from 6-10 to 4-13. So they got worse. They really got worse. And after the game was over, Joe Judge was, he talks to the press, the media, whatever, and somebody asked him, I don't know who it was, so what is it that you see or think, something along the lines of, like, what do you see that, because obviously your record's gotten worse than the year before. You went from 6-10 to 4-13. So what do you see that's positive that you something along these lines? It's not exactly, because I don't remember, but what do you see that's a positive? What do you see that gives hope for the future? Because the record just got worse. I mean, you guys were 6-10, and you went from 6-10 to 4-13, so you got worse. Why is there hope for the future? And then Joe Judge wound up going on like a 10 or 11 minute rant. Usually he'll give you look you right into your soul and give you an answer. It's a predetermined answer. He's like, what do you see? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I see a guy who goes out there, plays hard. He's staring right at the dude's soul, right in it. He doesn't blink. He doesn't look away, but he gives you that predetermined answer. It's always see a guy who goes out there every day, does what he's told to do. He competes. He works hard. He's intelligent. He's blah, 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 blah. He gives him a certain, it's a predetermined answer. Usually, and then it's over. Then he's like, next. And he looks at the next person as he's staring right into their soul. And again, and sometimes he'll give an answer. I see a guy out there who's determined. He competes every day. Like, he comes in, he does what he's supposed to do. He does what he's asked to do. He has these predetermined answers, right? Well, with this one question, he went on like a 10 or 11 minute rant on why basically things are on the up and up for the New York Giants. Basically, it sounded like he was trying to, it was like a cry for help to Mr. Marrow. This is why I should keep my job, right? And the more stuff that came out of his mouth, the worse he made it for himself. I mean, he just absolutely did a horrible job. And it was like 10, 11 minutes long. It just went on and on and on. It was just uncalled for, and he should have just kept his mouth shut. But it was what it was. But thankfully, everybody was gone after this season. We needed a fresh start. As I said, the Giants were, going nowhere fast with Jason Garrett calling plays, and Joe Judge's coach. I mean, he was not a good coach. You know what I mean? So we needed a fresh start. We needed to clear house, fresh start, this, that, and the other thing. And so that's what we got. Thank goodness. So as I said, after this season, Joe Shane came in, and we brought in Brian Dable, and obviously we know, obviously 2022 was a very successful season. We're certainly looking forward to the 2023 season. So what does Wikipedia have to say about the 2021 season? 2021 season was the 102nd season in the history of the National Football League. The season was the first to feature a 17-game regular season schedule, as the league expanded the season from 16 games. The regular season started on September 9th, 2021, with defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay defeating Dallas in the NFL kickoff game. And actually, it was a very good game. Actually, it was odd because my son and I were there, because we go to a Dallas game every year, and that was the game that we saw. Actually, it was pretty odd because that we actually saw back-to-back games when the Cowboys played New England. It was rather odd because we saw them play the Cowboys play New England. The Cowboys play Tom Brady. 2019, there was no fans in 2020, so we did not go to a Cowboy game in 2020. But in 2019, when we saw the Cowboys play, we saw them play in New England. And in 2019, the quarterback for New England was Tom Brady. So we didn't see him play in 2020 because for the most part, there was no fans in any of the stands because of COVID. So in 2021, that we resumed watching game. We went to our one Cowboy game, which was on the road, just to see different stadiums and all. So we wound up being the first game of the season was in Tampa Bay, Cowboys against Tampa Bay, and it was against Tom Brady. So we saw back-to-back Tom Brady games. He beat the Cowboys in both the games, but it was a very, very, very exciting game. Very, very exciting game. Great game. Really great game. So it was the kickoff game. Tampa Bay defeated the Cowboys, and the regular season ended on January 9, 2022. The playoffs started on January 15th and concluded with the Super Bowl, the league's championship game, at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California on February 13th, with Los Angeles Rams defeating Cincinnati. And good old Eli Apple, Mr. Big Mouth himself, giving up the game-winning touchdown pass. Gotta love it. And it's on the front cover of Sports Illustrated magazine. Gotta freaking love it. Good old Eli Apple, Mr. Big Mouth himself. So, I mean, yeah, so let's go over the AFC, right, and see how everybody got to the playoffs and all that stuff and everything. All right, so we got Buffalo. They won the AFC East with a record of 11-6. New England with a record of 10-7. They got the wild card. Cincinnati won with a record of 10-7 in the AFC North. Pittsburgh Steelers with a record of 9-7-1 was a wild card. Tennessee Titans with a record of 12-5 won the AFC South. Kansas City with a record of 12-5 won the AFC West. And the Las Vegas Raiders with a record of 10-7. They got the other wild card. So now in the playoffs, Cincinnati beat the Raiders 26-19. Buffalo crushed New England 47-17, and Kansas City beat Pittsburgh 42-21. So now in the divisional round, Cincinnati beat Tennessee 19-16, and Kansas City in overtime beat Buffalo 42-36. That was a heck of a game. Heck of a game, boy. I'll tell you what, that was one of the games for the ages, boy. I was so lucky I got a chance to see that game. So now in the, but of course now in the championship game, Cincinnati went into Kansas City, and in overtime, they beat Kansas City 27-24, sending Cincinnati to the Super Bowl. So now in the NFC, the Cowboys with a record of 12-5 won the NFC East. The Eagles with a record of 9-8 were a wild card team. In the NFC North, the Green Bay Packers with a record of 13-4. They won the NFC North. Tampa Bay with a record of 13-4. They won the NFC South. And in the NFC West, the Rams with a record of 12-5 won the division. Arizona Cardinals with a record of 11-6 were a wild card team. And San Francisco with a record of 10-7 were the other wild card team. So in the playoffs, San Francisco, and whatever reason, Dallas can't seem to beat San Fran, right? And so in the playoffs, San Francisco beat Dallas 23-17. The Rams beat Arizona 34-11, and Tampa Bay beat the Eagles, thank goodness, 31-15. So now in the divisional round, San Francisco beat Green Bay. And once again, Dallas can't beat San Fran for whatever reason, and Aaron Rodgers can never beat the 49ers. And once again, he lost 13-10 at Lambeau Field. They scored 10 points. Wow. And in the other divisional round game, the Rams beat Tampa Bay 30-27. So now in the championship game, the Rams beat the 49ers 20-17, sending the Rams to the Super Bowl. So now in the Super Bowl, we want to be in a very, very good Super Bowl here. All right, let's see. Let's scroll on down here. In the first quarter, Odell Beckham Jr. caught a 17-yard touchdown reception from Matthew Stafford. It's a shame because Odell Beckham blew out his ACL later on in the game. It's a shame, but he's on a winning team. The man got himself a Super Bowl ring. Good for you, Odell Beckham Jr. You certainly deserve it, brother. So the Rams had a 7-0 lead. Then in the first quarter, still Cincinnati kicked a field goal to make it 7-3. Second quarter, Cooper Kupp, the Cupmeister, had an 11-yard touchdown reception, and they went for 2 points. I'm not sure why, but they went for 2 points. They failed to get it, so the Rams were up 13-3. T. Higgins scored a touchdown reception. And it was 13-10. And then Higgins scored a 75-yard touchdown reception from Joe Burrow. And so basically, all it was like basically the first play After the kickoff, the first play in the second half, Higgins had a 75-yard touchdown reception from Joe Burrow to put Cincinnati up 17-13. Cincinnati then kicked another field goal, and they wound up 20-13. Then the Rams, with 5 minutes and 58 seconds left to go in the third quarter, they kicked the field goal to make it 20-16. Then the Rams got the ball, and it was 20-16. They needed a touchdown. That's what they got. They drove down the field. They went 15 plays, 79 yards. Took them 4 minutes and 48 seconds. Cooper, the Cupmeister, in the corner of the end zone, over Eli Apple, caught the winning touchdown reception. It's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Freaking love it. Cooper Kupp caught a touchdown reception from Matthew Stafford. With the extra point, the Rams went up 23-20. Let's see here. Let's see. The Bengals got the ball back at their own 25-yard line and quickly gained 26 yards on a 17-yard pass to Chase and a 9-yard catch by Boyd, respectively. After an incomplete pass, Donald and fellow lineman Greg Gaines tackled Synergy Pirine for no gain, bringing up 4th and 1. Wow. The Bengals decided to pass the ball for a first down, but Donald wrapped Burrow up before he could make the throw. Burrow still managed to attempt a desperation pass to Pirine as he was being taken down, but the ball fell short, causing a turnover on downs and enabling Los Angeles to run out the rest of the clock with the quarterback kneel. Now, they went from, it is what it is, but they had the ball to 25. They quickly gained 26 yards on 2 passes. So basically, they got to the 49-yard line, right, of the Rams. Then after a couple plays, they wound up with 4th and 1. So actually, they got down to the 40-yard line. Oh, okay. No, my bad. I'm sorry. They got to the 49-yard line. Then they had 3 plays, and it was a turnover and down. So they got to the 49. So they never actually got in the field goal range. But they got to the 49-yard line, and then they had like three straight plays with they incomplete pass, and then there was a tackle for no gain, and then another incomplete pass. So it was a shame. So the Bengals had 2nd and 1, and in 3 successive plays, they couldn't gain a yard. 2nd and 1 and 3 plays. They're in the Super Bowl. They need to gain 1 yard just to get a first down to keep the drive alive. 3 plays, they couldn't gain 1 yard. Rams defense stopped them, got the ball back, took the victory formation, right? Game was over. It was an exciting Super Bowl. The Rams went in 23-20. The Bengals are still looking for their first ever Super Bowl victory. But is what it is, right? Like I said, but good old Eli Apple, Mr. Big Mouth himself. Can't stand the guy. Just piece of trash. Disrespect and talking bad about the Giants and the Giants organization and their fans and the city. Same thing with the Saints. He talked bad about the city. He said the city smells, stuff like that. And I think he said he hates the fan base as well too. Just an absolute piece of trash. I'm really glad he lost, and I'm glad he gave up the game-winning touchdown. I'm really glad, because he's an absolute human piece of trash. You don't talk bad about cities and organizations. Be a grown person. Be a grown man. Obviously, that's something he can't be. He's just a 2-year-old kid. With the big mouth, and he gave up the game-winning touchdown. So he got what he deserves. So good for you, you freaking loser, you piece of trash. Well, that wraps up the 2021 season for the New York Giants. As I said, it was just another painful season in the history of New York Giants football. And you were just down on your knees every night, just looking up at sweet dear baby Jesus. When is this going to end? Haven't we suffered enough? And I think sweet dear baby Jesus looked down upon us and said, yes, Giant fans, it's going to end. It's going to end soon. And after Gettleman was gone and Judge was gone, thankfully, we hired Shane, who certainly looks like he was the right man for the job, and he hired Brian Daboll, who certainly looks like he was the right coach for the job. So, but of course, that's the final season, the 98th season, which will be tomorrow night. So, but as I said, the 4-13 season for the New York Giants in 2021, another horrible season, but thankfully, the bright spot of it is we got rid of Gettleman and we got rid of Judge, and we brought in Shane and Daboll, and things are looking on the up and up. So I'll be back again tomorrow night with the final season, the last and final season in the history of the New York Giants, the 2022 season, which just happened to be the 98th season in the history of the New York Giants. See you then.